Hello and welcome to Pick Up the Mic, Harvest Church's foundational, first, original, official podcast. I'm Mike Reiner, lead pastor at Harvest Church, and with me is not my faithful sidekick, but the second string faithful sidekick, Isaac John. How you doing, Isaac?
I'm wonderful, Mike.
Will is out doing what he does, killing animals somewhere in the Midwest.
Slaughtering mammals.
Why can't you slaughter the mammals right here in Pennsylvania?
They're not big enough or carry cool enough stories, I think.
Yeah, I think they just like to go for long walks. These are men who like to go for long walks in nature together without any women.
It did turn out to be a one-on-one.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
Is it just two men walking together in the woods?
In the woods. About to get abducted by aliens.
Okay, that's fine. Hey, so last week when I was sitting in this very chair, we had a guest, and right near the end of the podcast, what's his name? Will was getting texts, and he was looking at his phone. But that's all right. I thought he was just bored. And
Ignorant.
As soon as we stopped recording, he said, someone just shot Charlie Kirk, and that he's dead. And I said, how do you know he's dead? He said, and this is almost a direct quote, I've killed lots of things. I know death when I see it. And now he doesn't kill people, but he is an avid hunter. And so I pulled up, I started looking online, and sure enough, he was shot, but they weren't saying he was dead. But they would say he was dead, and probably he was right. So now that people are hearing this now, this is several weeks behind. It's been 1 week here. It'll probably be 2 weeks by the time you hear this. But this has become a national, even worldwide phenomenon, the death of Charlie Kirk. Shockingly, because he wasn't a president, wasn't a senator, wasn't running for office. And it's more of a Christian event than a political event. I think that's also interesting. He began very much as a conservative activist, and he would say he doesn't care about political parties. He cares about ideas, and so, and obviously he's very political in his action. But his goal was to take Rush Limbaugh's conservatism and make it understandable to young people. He said this needs to be the turning point for our nation, and so he reached out to young people on college campuses and whatnot. Now, most people know this about him, but what's interesting is as his life went on, he became more and more about making sure he preached the gospel. And so his death came, and it hit really hard. And I thought, heck, if we're going to pick up the mic, we're going to talk about it at least once. I got all kinds of stuff that I could just start throwing at you, but you're sitting in Will's chair. So
it's comfier than yours.
Yeah. So how about this? I want to start with a video, and then I'll throw it back to you, and you tell me any direction you want to go. And if you don't have anything, I'm ready to rock. You could just sit there, but I think people like, I don't know. Have you noticed this, Sunshine, that the videos that Isaac is on always get tons of views?
I have noticed that.
Why is that? People like him. And it doesn't matter if he's sitting in my chair or Will's chair.
I was going to say.
They like him better than us.
Yeah, I think he's just popular, I guess.
He's popular.
Which is weird because I don't feel like I have much to say, but
well,
cool.
I guess, the chicks dig the young guy and the blue eyes. Maybe that's it. But also, the other one that got a ton of views recently was one with Tina from Tina Talks. So apparently...
You'd be surprised to know I cried through that one.
Did you?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
What point?
I can't remember either of them now. Both her podcast and the one that she was on this, but I cried for both of them through her story, but I can't remember why.
Oh, well.
I'm guessing it was related to just the grace of our Lord in her story.
Yes, God does save, and it was fun talking with her, and I look forward to hearing her podcast. They've already recorded a second one, right? And so by the time I'm talking, that's already out, and the third one by the time I'm talking, like not now.
We release once a month. Currently.
Once a month, says Sunshine. Okay.
Wow.
I think you
so
need
no spoilers.
You need to up your game.
That's what I'm telling her.
mean,
I think we should do more. I think we'll
two
work our way
a
up.
month at least.
Yes, that was
Because
that was
she's
my goal.
obviously more popular than me and Will. But hey, what if she interviewed a dude? She'd have Isaac on, and that'll be the most popular of all.
Justin is still, I think,
Justin.
the number one, though.
Justin.
We need a bad boy.
Justin's been on there a while. Well, Christina is the bad girl who's repented, so it all works out. Anyway, I don't know how I went to there, but the very last video I sent you, Sunshine, with Rush on it, this was from years ago. I don't know how many years ago, but Rush died, what was it, 24, 23, 24? And this has got to be at least 10 years before he died. Maybe a few more. So, whenever you're ready, do you know the one I mean?
Yes. I thought
Whenever
you were going to
ready,
ask
just
for
let her rip.
I mean,
And let this be the introduction.
second.
Hey, there he is. Are we doing the expando version?
Yes.
Okay, there it is. That's our high-tech way. And this has words all over it, but
Yeah, so just ignore that.
I don't like that, but that's why I
Conference.
found it.
What was it? Turning Point USA. How many kids were there? And there 3,000 student activists here it was actually over at West Palm Beach. And this is a group that has been put together and operates under the auspices of Charlie Kirk, right? Who is you're going to be hearing that name if you haven't. Charlie Kirk. Let me just tell you. I don't want to jinx him, but I'm just going to tell you. They brought Charlie Kirk to the golf course to meet me about a month ago. He was in town to set up this Turning Point thing, and they brought him to the golf course to meet me. It was we were getting ready for a 8:45 a.m. start, and they brought him out while I was getting ready to go to the range to loosen up. And I spoke with him for about a half hour, and he told me how he grew up in a home where my program was on all the time. He was just effusively complimentary to me, which I, of course, understood and told him he's very wise. His family's very wise. He chuckled. He laughed. This is the kind of guy that you can see really becoming big in politics as he gets older. He just has the carriage, the personality, the charisma. You may think this sounds weird, but I remember when Bill Clinton became president, there were all of these stories about Bill Clinton at Oxford and Bill Clinton at Yale and Bill Clinton here and all these people who went to school with him. There was story after story after story where people were saying that they just knew Bill Clinton was going to be president someday. In college, he just had that kind of ambition, and he impressed people. And I'm telling you that people are saying the same things about Charlie Kirk.
So that's an introduction from the master,
So you're saying that's like a 12-year-old video?
at least.
So Charlie Kirk would have been a teenager.
He started at 16. By 18, he was
wild.
on Fox News.
What have
And
you
he
done
never
with
went
your
to
life?
college. Nothing. Nothing. I've never
I
done.
was actually asking myself.
I know I wasted a lot of time. But when you get Rush Limbaugh's attention, Rush was, before the internet and podcasting became a thing, he was the number one broadcaster in the country. No one's close. 20 million people every day. That's when you had to listen when he said it. And somehow Kirk got his attention, and that's the way he was. In fact, there's a good reason to believe that politically he won the election for Trump. And not because he endorsed him, not because people said, oh, I'm going to vote how Charlie votes, but just to get a little bit in the weeds, I'm not an expert, but the RNC, the Republican National Committee, it's their job to manage donations and get Republicans elected. In other words, they are the ones in charge of what's normally called the ground game. You know what the ground game is?
No.
No, it's when you knock on doors, when you get people to vote. The way the Democrats won the Biden election was their ground game. When everyone was stuck inside, they mobilized just thousands of people to go to everyone's house, knock on the door, and get them to fill out mail-in ballots. and that's how they won. And the Democrats historically have a better ground game, which is why they win. They go into cities, make sure everybody votes. And the RNC has just stunk up the place for years. Just horrible job. There was supposed to be a red wave in 2022, and it just, because the popularity was on the side of the GOP, but they just did a horrible job, the RNC did. And so Rona, whatever her name is, the daughter of Mitt Romney, she kind of got driven out because she did such a poor job, and they put in Laura Trump, who married into the Trump family, and another guy at RNC. But RNC's ground game just had stopped being effective. So what Kirk did, he says, well, we will run the ground game from Turning Point. And he got like $10 million in donations and 1,000 people, and they focused on just a few states that were important, like Wisconsin or something. And he said, our goal is to go meet people and get them to register to vote and convince them of our ideas. And he did it. And he really had something going on. So he became very effective, and that'd be a reason why he'd become a political target. But I don't think he was killed for his politics. I think he was killed for his stance on transgenderism and his stance in favor of Christ. And therefore, I think he's a martyr. I think he died as a martyr. Because the reasons people hated him, they thought he was an evil man. Mm-hmm. Did you have anything to say yet?
We might want to come back to it, but it reminds me of a conversation I had just yesterday where a brother in Christ was wrestling with the idea of, this is not the word he used, but I would say, to summarize it, with idolizing Charlie Kirk. By Christians calling him a martyr, he felt like it was idolizing him. And so we talked through what martyrdom means and why I feel like the same way that Charlie Kirk deserves to be in that category. And we talked about Hebrews 11, which is an example of faithful people in the Old Testament, even though they were filled with flaws. And yet the word martyr, meaning witness, i.e. witness to Christ, that was very much Charlie Kirk. I watched him. I probably first saw him more than 5 years ago, and he was just another guy on the street arguing politics. And it was interesting. His quick wit and rhetoric, I think, is impressive, very much like apologetics, street apologetics. But I stopped watching him because it was just too much for me. But in the last year, I watched him more because it was very clear that his faith was taking a primary role in the things that he was saying and thinking about. So
yeah, they were, and you were his target audience, not me. But it's amazing how many people my age were touched by him. What you said about Hebrews 11, we get this list of great saints, as we can call them, and it ends. Near the end it said, others suffered mocking, flogging, chains, imprisonment. They were stoned, they were sawn in two, they were killed with a sword. They went about in skins of sheep, goats, destitute, afflicted, mistreated, of whom the world was not worthy. And so the Bible names names. And I have heard people wonder, are we idolizing? I think that's just a criticism that's taking hold in people's mind.
None of the saints were perfect.
Well, but there should be honor to whom honor is due. Mm-hmm. For example, if you could probably think of some saints in your life that you admire quite a bit, like say your mother or your grandmother. So when your grandmother died, you preached the sermon. Mm-hmm. Did you idolize her?
No.
No, you presented Christ, but she represented faith.
Yeah.
And as a person. And it was right. I was there too, and I was moved by it. Did I do idolatry?
I hope not.
No, of course not. What we call memorializing people who die and uplifting the Lord is the subject of every funeral.
Yeah.
That's what you do. Mm-hmm. To have a nationwide memorial and since we can't go to any, I'm not going to Arizona or wherever they're doing it. There's nothing inappropriate about that. Take it this way. Let's say at the height of his popularity, someone had shot Billy Graham dead. You would see the same thing. People would be all over the country, and no one would say, are you idolizing him? I think the reason that comes up, my own theory, is that people are afraid of being called political.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. His connections to politics.
Yes, and fear stops them from honoring people. I'm not going to get a Charlie Kirk tattoo. I'm not going to put up a Charlie Kirk statue. I'm not going to do anything different that I do in politics, politically. My own age and my own life, I'm pretty much set in what I do. But I can see that the response of many people to him was to come to church.
Yeah.
In fact, we got a few videos of that. Let's see if we can pull out one or two. We got some haters, too. Hey, Sunshine, first play that one from the black guy that I sent you two of.
Yep.
Yes, I said black. Proving I'm
you go
not
to church
racist.
this Sunday and your pastor says nothing about the events that have happened this week, if he preaches that sermon, if they continue that series and they don't address what is happening in America, don't go back to that church. Don't attend that church, because that pastor is not a pastor. He's a pawn to what culture is doing and doesn't want to say anything because he doesn't want to offend his members. Something needs to be said about what's happening in America right now, and it has to come from pastors.
Now, I want to give you a second to think about it, but I'll tell you, I agree with them. I don't agree with the litmus test if you go and your pastor doesn't mention Charlie Kirk. I think that's not, as a pastor, I didn't have a Charlie Kirk plan the Sunday he died, but I did talk about him because I thought it's on everyone's mind. They're wondering what I think. I sent out a letter because Sunshine said, hey, we need something for social media. And I thought, she's right. Let's get that out there. Just a little response. And then I started the sermon with him, and on the Sunday versions, he kept sneaking back into the illustrations. Charlie did. But I wouldn't want to make a litmus test. But on the other hand, what I really do agree with that guy about is there's a cultural phenomenon going on, and pastors, I don't think it's all holy to say this sermon would work in any situation in any year. I've heard that said about John MacArthur's. He never preached to culture. First, I don't agree with that. He may have claimed that, but I don't think it's true. But second, if he never preached to culture, he was never biblical. Because if you find sermons in the Bible, they're always cultural.
Yeah.
Starting with Peter at Pentecost, he was responding to the cultural moment. These things you hear these people saying, they're not drunk. It's not even 10 a.m., he told them, but they are fulfilling prophecy. And if you listen to Paul's sermon at Mars Hill, he contextualized the sermon to the audience. So I do agree that if the preachers won't preach the truth, who the heck will? And it is the preacher's job. There's some people say it's the preacher's and the comedian's job. I don't necessarily agree with the comedians in an absolute sense, but I do think they do play that role in our society. When they go woke, people are scared. But the preachers, we are to give the voice of God from the Bible to our culture. And if we skip certain subjects for fear of what the world thinks, and that's what he was saying by culture, Martin Luther said, then we might as well just be quiet. You got to speak to where Satan's attacking. I don't know what your thought is there.
Yeah, I tend to be one who feels very disconnected from my culture just because I'm bad at keeping up with current events, and I'm trying to get much better at it. But I agree with him. I think that an important role of the pastor is to address the culture. It should be a given that he is able to exegete the word, able to study and communicate the word, but it can't be removed from culture. It can't be removed from, because then it's not living. If it's not, the Word of God is timeless and therefore can span any time, not the opposite, which is stuck in one moment or timeless. I guess that's the same word, but it has to affect its audience if it's living, if the Word of God is living and active.
Or it's worthless.
Yeah.
You have to be able to apply it.
Yeah.
In fact, you just led me to another video. We're going to have a lot of videos here, but they're short. Sunshine, the one that has PSK in the name, has got a kid with a ball cap on it. If you could play that one, I think Charlie gives the best answer to how your Christianity is supposed to go out to the culture. I mean, I'm going to steal it. I think it's a great answer. And
I'm continually looking forward to how you describe the videos to Sunshine.
I know.
With 20 videos, this has got to get
I was
good.
thinking that too, 'cause
Well,
you
we
have
got a
lot.
bald dude. We got an angry white girl. We got all kinds of stuff ready to rock.
Okay. And I did figure out what the issue is with the thing popping up. Somebody deregistered this computer's ProPresenter, and so it's technically a watermark.
Oh, they deregister. Is that going out online with a watermark?
It'll have like remember how I said the ProPresenter thing that shows
Yeah,
up on
yeah.
there? Yes, currently I'm
So
waiting
make sure you
to hear
don't cut
from-
this conversation out. If you're seeing ProPresenter on there,
Yeah.
it's a
I'm sorry.
technical
I'm trying
difficulty.
To get it fixed. Somebody must have deregistered this computer, but
Some evil
It'll be-
person
I know.
deregistered it, and
on
sometimes
today
A
when you have
word
the
from
most
our
video.
sponsor, ProPresenter.
No, a word from our sponsor.
Okay, but the audio will still be fine.
But the
with
audio
Thank you
work.
for your $100,000 donation.
If you
to our
move
podcast.
like the mouse around when the ProPresenter, no. Okay.
Nah, it's
So
a-
if ProPresenter comes on, folks,
Ignore it. Just listen.
ignore
to
it.
the video.
Yes,
Yeah. Okay.
and curse their name.
we went in opposite directions.
Well, they didn't pay us. If
they
send me
will.
a check,
I'm assuming so.
no, they won't. If they
How
send
could
me
they
a
not
check,
with the fame of this podcast?
well, the fame of this one, they 200 people, and none of whom buy ProPresenter. I don't know.
Imagine the possibilities for their
Yes.
company.
Hit play when
So a
you're
couple
ready.
years
There it
ago,
is.
on the way home from high school, when I was in high school, I was listening to your show, and I heard you advocate for the trades and not going to college. So I wanted to thank you for that input, because I gladly skipped college, and I've been an electrician for 2 years now. I love it. So thank you.
Great for you, man.
My question is a faith-related one, actually. So I'm sure you know that most tradesmen are either alcoholics or divorced or felons or sometimes all three, but it's okay, we love them. What would your advice be to young tradesmen who love Jesus more than anything and want to exemplify him in every word and action, but have a really hard time consistently operating that way in an environment where mentioning Jesus is like committing a war crime?
Man, first of all, God bless you and thank you for. I love the hardworking men of Wyoming. It gives me so much hope. It's just amazing. Number one, you have to make your faith center in everything that you do, in all that you do. If you know that most tradesmen have problems drinking, maybe you're just going to say, I'm going to not drink in my life. I don't drink, and it's a great way to live, everybody. Tucker Carlson doesn't drink. Donald Trump doesn't drink. You got a lot of energy when you don't drink. And
I'm 7 months sober, by the way.
praise God, man. That's amazing.
I
Good for
can
you.
often
And
go a long
let me
time
ask
without
you,
having any alcohol
are you-
and still lay
do you
around.
see a
I think
positive benefit from that?
In every aspect of every second of every day.
Praise the Lord. And my advice for people in this audience is that if you're struggling with alcohol, tomorrow can be a new day where it can be your day one. Jesus Christ is with you through every single one of those steps and those struggles. And even if you say, well, I don't have an alcohol problem, that's fine. That's not actually the contention. The contention is it good for you in what you want to do? So here's what I say to young men, and Jordan Peterson's been saying this for a while, which is, what are you aiming at? What is your goal? What is your destination? And so by not drinking, what you've done is you've just taken one of those variables completely off the table. And let me tell you, if you're an alcoholic, you're more likely to get divorced. So you now have decreased the likelihood of getting divorced. I don't know if you're married or if you're looking for.
My whole heart belongs to Jesus right now.
Amazing. There's a lot of women here that I think would love to meet you. So.
he
and
has a
read the
job.
word
He
every
loves
single day.
Jesus. Oh, yeah.
And come up with clear rules for your life of things that you will not do, things you will not watch, ways that you will not engage. And finally, you're in a unique place, because when people call an electrician, they're looking for help. You have a chance to minister. So when you walk in to be an electrician, you don't have to be like Billy Graham, and so proclaim it. You don't have to be that. But you could say, hey, how are you doing? You having a good week?
Right.
People will talk to you. It's amazing how they'll talk to people they welcome into their home. They'll say, oh, it's just terrible. My kid is this and that. Be like, can I pray for you? And by the way, this is Wyoming, right? This is not San Francisco, so a lot of people will say yes.
Right.
And then you can all of a sudden use your electrician job as a way to witness to other people. And you would be shocked at how God is going to use you to be able to spread the gospel in places where people would never, ever come into gospel before. And you are now a missionary and you didn't even realize it. You get to go into more homes that I get to. I mean, I broadcast to a lot of homes, but you're going to be intimate. How old are you?
20 years old.
You're 20 years old. So you're going to be an electrician probably for the next 40 years, 50 years. You're probably going to walk into 10,000 to 15,000 homes. That is a mission field, the likes of which that now at 20, you can be like, you know what my aim is? My aim is to bring 250 people to Jesus over the next decade. Or my why is to do that. So now all of a sudden you're using a trade that can then feed your family eventually and make you money to go glorify God at an ultimate purpose. And that's my advice for all of us, is to infuse your daily work for God's glory and to do it in ways that we could never imagine. And so, man, God bless you. And I just want to say that, like, I love people that go in the contrarian way. I'm sure there was a lot of pressure to go to college, but you're going to earn a great living being an electrician. There's a shortage of electricians in this country, as you well know, all across, because we look down upon these trades in this country and so we should elevate them. So I'm counting on you to be the missionary electrician from Laramie, Wyoming. God bless you, man. Thank you so much.
So what do you think?
What a God-honoring answer. I mean, he went really specific and practical, and all I could think of was Paul's answer when the Apostle Paul, when he says, you address the culture around you, other electricians. You see what they struggle with, and his specific example was drinking. And he said what no one other than a Christian, as far as I can tell, well, maybe there's some kind of moving that direction, but would say is, then maybe you're being called to not drink. Maybe you're being called to
give up your right.
Yeah.
Give up your freedom for the sake of others.
And then he encouraged him to be a better electrician to the glory of God. That's awesome.
And he gave them a very practical way to talk to people. Ask them how they're doing, because you're in their house. And as someone who, for a living, I don't do it to make a living, but I need to make my living from it. When I'm not preaching, I'm talking to humans. That's what I do. And he's exactly right. If you ask people questions, they'll talk to you, especially in their house. And if you ask people to pray, and I did this in New Jersey, where they all vote a different way than they do in Wyoming. Trust me, everyone in my church was probably, not everyone, I'd say at the time I was there, it was 50-50 Democrat to Republican voters, if not 60% Democrat. And I'd go into the hospitals and I'd visit someone and I'd turn to the person next to him and said, can I pray for you? I never had anyone say no. And so it has nothing to do with politics. He's given this guy a purpose for life that goes beyond. I really like the fact that he said he was applauded for not going to college.
I knew you were going to bite on that.
I love that.
Me too.
Why do you?
Well, I had to apologize to my boss when I still worked at a school because we had a college recruiter come in, and I, at the end of his speech, I told them, hey guys, this is a great school, but it's also a strong possibility that you might not need to go to college. So, like, if you're looking for a good college, this is it. This is one. It was Grove City.
Yes, it is. Grove City is very good.
However, many of you will not go, and you should do that to the glory of God. And I was like, sorry, boss, I know we're supposed to be pushing people towards college, but there are many reasons I'm convinced that we should not be sending 18-year-olds to many universities.
So Charlie Kirk took a gap year.
Mm-hmm.
He was accepted into one of the military academies, which is hard to do. And somebody said, maybe you should take a year off and pursue what you really like. And then he never went to college. Mm-hmm.
He advocates for Hillsdale, though.
Well, sure. In my life, not wanting to work with my hands to make money, I went to college, and it was $890 a semester at Penn State when I started, and you could have all the credits you wanted.
That's awesome.
Now, since I thought it would stay that way, I only took 12, the minimum load. I thought, I got to figure out if I can do this. Had I realized they're going to go by per credit hour, but it was all the credits you wanted for $890. And they'd say, well, that was a long time ago. It was affordable then. And I studied something that will not pay you unless you can pursue it and are good at it.
You're a liberal arts major?
Liberal arts, and what I went for was communication. Now, it happens that I got a job not in communications, and I didn't like it, and then transferred into communications. I worked in retail, but then I transferred into their training department where I train people. So that really is a communication field. And now I'm a pastor, which is also a communication field. So it all worked out. I saw the value of the education, though, because it didn't cost that much money. That when I left, I could get a job doing things I didn't want because I had a college degree. Like I made enough in retail, not much, but enough to feed a small family. And that was because of the college degree. Otherwise, they'd have started me lower. They're like, well, you got to. But those days are gone.
Yep.
And if you're a liberal arts major, I do think there's value in an old-fashioned liberal arts degree, not today, where it's indoctrination central toward the left, but in socialism and foolishness and godlessness. But to learn to learn how to read and appreciate good books, learn how to speak, learn history. These are good things. Philosophy. However, the government welfare, which is what government loan subsidies were, and has made it so expensive that you're a stupid idiot if you don't do the math and see that unless you're going to make an awful lot of money, you're going to come out of college with $100,000 in debt or more. Mm-hmm. For goodness stinking sake. That's a lot. And then you're not going to be able to pay for your car, your house.
And you're compelled to do everything that you do based on how much money you make.
That's
which
right.
just,
Takes
in
your
principle,
freedoms away.
Yeah.
And on the other hand, there are a lot of ways to make money. So I agree. College is ruining our country. I went to Penn State. I loved Penn State football. I loved my experience. I would tell everyone, why would you waste your money going to Pitt or Penn State? If you go to Penn State, you're going to be an engineer. Why waste their entire liberal arts? Just throw it away. They have a communication department. If you're really serious about broadcasting, maybe you could go there, but maybe you could find a better place. I would say if you want a good education, Hillsdale doesn't take government money, neither does Grove City, and both of them, they will teach you what you're supposed to learn, but it's still going to be expensive. And I'd obviously go to a great Christian Bible college to learn the Bible, if you can. But there are not a lot of great ones. But there is a good one that I think me and you would both endorse, right?
Oh, yeah.
Columbia International University in Columbia, South Carolina. You could go there. He went undergrad, I went seminary, and it was life-changing for me.
And me.
But I want to show you, but was that a hate-filled man? Did that look like a hate? Sunshine, you're the youngest of the three of us. Did you ever pay attention to Charlie Kirk at all? You're not really a political.
Yeah,
they say men mostly are the ones who stare at YouTube, not women. So
I did not as much as it's showing up now, but I was familiar with him, and I liked if they showed up on my feed or something, I would watch it because I liked how
you
he
would have recognized
debated.
his name.
Oh yeah, name, face. I would have seen some of his stuff.
Yeah. Would you call before he died, and would you say that you heard him say a lot of hateful things, like hateful things?
I wouldn't say that.
Did you hear him say anything mean and hateful?
Nope. Honestly.
Did you think anything in that clip was mean and hateful?
No.
The closest I would say is he got aggressive occasionally.
I've seen him debate, and he does, but he doesn't get personal.
Yeah.
Even then.
I mean, I haven't seen like all of his stuff. So the stuff that people are saying where he's rude and mean or whatever, I don't know that I've
so let's
seen that,
tackle
but
that.
I also don't think that he is like that.
Have you seen the clip where the guy walks up and just his first comment is insulting the size of his head?
Oh my god!
And then he just like goes off on, "I effing hate you. You're so effing filled with hate." And Charlie's trying to have a conversation with him. "Can you explain to me something I've said that's hateful?" And the guy just keeps going like, "No, you're the worst." And like, I think that's
the phenomenon I want to talk about.
Yeah.
First, I think criticisms of the size of his head aren't necessarily hateful, because he had a big old head. I mean, you got to admit, some people have big heads, but I love the dude. I'm not his husband.
full of brains, clearly.
He had a beautiful wife, so apparently it didn't matter to him. And I didn't mind looking at his head. It wasn't like the Elephant Man or nothing. But you got to admit, he had a big old head. And maybe it was the way he cut his hair. But why people were rude to I'm going to get in trouble. Why people were rude to him.
That's not the thing we're going to get in trouble
The
for.
question is, why were people rude to them? And I don't think to him, and I think there's an answer. I don't think I don't know is the answer. We have someone who's rude to him. I could have got a lot of people who were rude to him. I only chose one rude to him videos. It's the girl in the sweatshirt, the white girl in the sweatshirt with a ponytail.
I was going to say, give us more detail.
Yeah,
Well,
I was
'cause
like,
I got
I
a
see a
black girl
couple
there
with a
too, so
sweatshirt.
we got to go with a white girl.
I see.
And you're going to have to get your tech team there to bleep her out. I think she's going to F-bomb us a little, but go ahead and play that.
Okay.
We're allowed to say the F word on here?
No,
We'll bleep it.
you could, but we don't. We're not supposed. It's against our personal ethic.
Yeah,
But
agreed.
if it's hard to have videos without it in it these days. But we have magical people who can beep it out. So
I don't think like the general public is like understanding like this guy was literally Mr. Evil, Nazi, like racist, like Hitler, like he is literally super villain level. Like above all, he was a father and a person. I don't give a like he was literally the devil. He was the devil sent from hell. Like what are we talking about? Above all, he was a father. I don't care, you guys. I don't care that he was a father. Being a father doesn't absolve you from everything that you've ever done. Like what the are we talking about? What are we talking about? Above all, he was a good man. No, he wasn't. He was the definition of an evil mother. Like, yes, I'm glad he's dead. Oh no, lock me up. Arrest me. Like, he is the devil. I'm glad he's dead. This is insane.
okay, there's a pleasant little lady.
What are we talking about? That's what she said. That was
Yeah, what are we talking
that
about?
should be the title of the
Okay,
video.
so let's give her some credit. I think she believes what she says.
Yep.
I think she believes he's evil, Hitler, the devil. And if it were evil Hitler, the devil, I'd say you're right. It doesn't matter that he's a father. Hitler, as famously known, had a dog. And there's a lot of pictures and dog lover, and that's tender and all that crap.
Beautiful artist.
He also had a girlfriend. And that poor woman, if you killed Hitler, would not have a boyfriend. So I see her argument, but the premise of her argument is what I question.
Yep.
Where does she come up with the idea? And here you get to guess, or you may know. Where did she come up with the idea that he is evil, hell spawn, like Satan, that he did horrible things?
The specifics, calling him the devil, that's the first time I've heard that argument. But in general,
She's not
an
the only
evil-
one.
Yeah, I believe it. And evil, because of what I'm about to answer, I think the answer is an echo chamber called social media. Because once someone starts saying it confidently, other people start saying it, and then suddenly it just becomes the truth. That's my opinion on, because I feel the same way. I don't know how to track down why people keep saying that. Well, I know why they keep saying he's a Nazi and a fascist and all that, because those are the buzzwords of our day. But yeah, I think it's just someone says it confidently, and maybe you throw in a little truth there with a out of context clip, like
Well, yeah.
the him saying it's unfortunate that people have to die for the Second Amendment. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I am. I do.
So if you take something like that and just to sprinkle a little bit of reality in, and then the echo just becomes louder and more consistent.
I personally, my opinion is you're exactly right about the echo chamber. She's being indoctrinated by her phone,
Yeah.
but also by probably her college. She looks like a nice suburban college kid that looks like a wealthy home, and at her age, I'm thinking she doesn't own it.
I bet you she doesn't have any friends that disagree with her opinion either.
I bet you do exactly. I think that really is it. To feel the freedom to talk like that, she sounds shocked that anyone has another opinion because she doesn't know real people. Now, from the time I was young, I knew that the media was liberal. People say, well, back you could trust the media. No, you couldn't. They were better, but they were not trustworthy. Cronkite was a leftist and a liar. And you can look that up. If you want to fight me on that, come fight me. We'll look it up together. You know, he was a pro-abortion leftist before abortion. He was anti-Vietnam, and he would spin every Vietnam story away from the truth. And when we got to Reagan, definitely, they hated him. Oh, did they hate him? And I went to pro-life marches in the early 80s when I became a Christian. And then you'd see the news coverage of it, if there was any at all. We'd get 100,000 people marching in the Capitol. There'd be nothing. There'd be five nasty-looking feminists with coat hangers protesting, and if there was anything, there'd be them. And you go, this thing is twisted. I even ran into a journalism student in college, and she said, well, of course journalism is yellow, but it's yellow our direction. And yellow means biased. And she just said it outright. She worked for the Daily Collegian, which is a left-wing, really piece of garbage printed by the students at Penn State. And it always was a piece of garbage, and it's still a piece of garbage. But the echo chamber is more total now, I think, because of this phone.
Yep.
Right? You got the sense that, Rush Limbaugh would have said, the reason the multimedia or the media is so uniform is because it all comes out of New York City. This was back in the 80s, he'd say. AP is in New York City, and the New York Times is in New York City, and every single paper in the country and every local news is waiting to hear what the New York Times is going to say is important. And he was right. He was right, and they were very powerful. But they didn't have any friends who didn't think like them. If you've been to New York, you know it's just a left-leaning place. And that echo chamber, though, is broken. The internet has killed it.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of people who have broken out. It seems like the left only has pull on those they can keep in the dark, right? And you might say, well, doesn't the right wing have it? Don't conservatives have it? Don't Christians have an echo chamber? Yes, of course we do. But the difference is, since we didn't control the public media, we knew what the other side thought too. Because all we had to do was watch ABC News, NBC News. I am old enough to remember when there was no Fox News. And now people are saying, Fox is too biased, it's coming too liberal. Hey, you should have seen before there was Fox. There was nothing. There was nothing. There was Rush. And he used to say, I am equal time. People would say, Rush, it's not fair that Rush is on there. There's no equal time on the radio. And they tried to get him off the radio. And he said, I am equal time. And he was right. There was nothing on the other side. So we always knew what they were thinking. But they never listened to what one politician called flyover country. Have you ever heard that term?
No.
Well, this was a leftist political, and it really was a political point of view for many, both Democrat and Republican, that the people who determine the culture, the policy, and the direction of the world were in like 5 cities. And that's it. There was New York City, there was Los Angeles, San Francisco, Dallas, Miami, and Chicago, and everything else was flyover country. You just fly over it. You don't stop. Those people do not matter. And there are still people who they're, but let's go. So one is her information source. She probably goes to a liberal arts college. She gets the women's studies. She gets the feminism. She probably has a phone filled with people who think just like her. But what is the actual data that they're giving that makes him wicked? That's the next question.
If you're not asking rhetorically.
Wait, before you do that, let me show you just an example of how the left-wing media is still trying. There's one there that says Andy No on it. Andy NGO. It's got a newscaster-looking dude. MRC.
And I would say, to add to what you just said while she's pulling that up,
Yeah.
Your comment was, the difference is not that the right doesn't have an echo chamber, but that it has a fuller picture of
because you can't escape the left's echo chamber.
Right. And you can find clips where Charlie is advocating for that very thing. Let's have conversations so that the truth is out there and people can decide. Even if you disagree with me, let's have the conversation. And it's the lack of conversation that puts us in a place where
and the solution, which we're going to get to, was just shoot them.
Yeah.
That ends the conversation.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead and hit it, Sunshine. This is an example of really what the left has been like and how they've run the news for years.
5 days after Charlie Kirk's murder, the shooter's motive remains elusive. No writings left behind, vague secondhand testimony. That uncertainty and the risk of drawing sweeping conclusions suggests the murder may share similarities with recent violence not driven by an obvious political ideology. The FBI recently recognized a new category, nihilistic violent extremism. For tonight's interview, we are joined by Matthew Kreiner, the executive director of the Institute for Countering Digital Extremism. Matthew, thank you so much for joining us. So, leaving aside this incident, what is nihilistic or nihilistic violent extremism?
So nihilistic violent extremism is extremism that is driven by a lack of singular ideological framework. It's individuals who are fed up with the world, believe there's no political solution to what they hope to see.
Stop.
Yeah,
Did you watch
stop.
the was it Philly the Eagles versus who's the first NFL game? Philly or the Eagles versus Dallas, I think.
They normally
and they
replay
had
the Super Bowl,
the
don't they?
thunder, the lightning storm, and so they had to pause the game.
Oh, yeah, that was
And so the commentators had to just talk for like an
Yes.
hour, and I was like, they have the worst job ever because they're just saying
Yes.
nothing. That's what that felt like in that video.
Oh, I know.
He's just saying nothing.
So this guy, though, he says we can't figure out the motive. He has no, and then he invents a term. Now, this guy, everyone in his, this is what, like, there are, my mother-in-law, this is the only kind of news she gets. She doesn't do internet news. That's what she's going to believe. A good bit of the left and a good bit of the nation who's not looking online, or they're only looking at their own echo chambers online, believe that.
I have to assume this video came out right after his death.
No, it's right now. It was
Are you kidding me?
That was yesterday.
Oh, jeez.
That was yesterday.
That is amazing.
And the reason it's amazing for those listening, because we have to timestamp this, because you're watching it after we've recorded it by at least a week. We know the writing on the bullets, the fascist stuff. We know the guy
Waited until he was talking about transgenderism.
He waited for the transgenderism statement. His boyfriend, because apparently he's gay in his sexuality, his boyfriend is transitioning into a woman and is a furry. And they're like, we can't figure out a motive or an
Anybody's
ideology.
guess.
It's nihilistic.
He could have killed the leading Democrat.
We know exactly what it is. Yeah. And that leads me to another subject here, and that is the left. And by the left, I don't mean all Democrats, by the way. So if you're a Democrat listening, first, you're not.
Seems unlikely.
Yeah, but if you are.
It wouldn't make it this far.
Yeah, you don't make it this far. But if you are, I do believe there could be Democratic voters who are not like my mother-in-law. She will vote Democrat till she dies. And they give her enough pablum, mother's milk of their crap on CNN and ABC Evening News to keep her in the dark. And she just believes Democrats are for poor people, Republicans are for rich people. Now, she has a good deal of money that she's earned over her life, and she's getting it taxed to death, but Philly voters are not bright voters. I don't know how else to say it.
Well, that was the most recent thing I wrote on my notes is, so tomorrow we're going to have the memorial, right, for Charlie Kirk.
Well, it was yesterday, so now you're marking it, but go ahead. I mean, it was
last
it's
week.
in the past.
For our time,
we don't even
tomorrow.
know how it went.
So there's going to be a video played there where a wonderful young lady asks the question, or maybe she makes the statement that you can't be a Democrat and a Christian. I can't remember if it's a question or a statement.
Yeah.
Do you want to address that in light of what you just said?
I will, and I am, actually. I'm not saying you can't be a Democrat, but I think her argument was, I'd like to know how you can be. And I'll answer that by not thinking, by not paying attention. And I got into a little trouble. I don't remember which election it was when I said, probably 2020, I said, I don't see how, if you're an informed Christian, you can vote for the Democrat national. And I didn't say local. Mm-hmm. The problem with local is, like, they're not the same. Like, our county commissioners you've got to have at least one Democrat. Well, it doesn't matter. I mean, what the national people are doing, they're kind of by law demanding a Democrat party on a local level. You can't have county commissioners without at least one non-Republican, and there's nothing else to put there. So I'm not saying the local Democrat thinks like the national platform. But on the national platform, they are against God, against prayer. They really are, by the way, in their platform. They're against any protection of any human life in the womb at all. They are definitely for the pro-gay marriage, transgenderism. Now, you might be saying, well, I think those things are good. I know, no, you're not if you're listening, but that's what people are taught in their echo chamber. All those things are good things. Abortion is a good thing, and transgenderism is a good thing, and men marrying men is a good thing. They're taught that. Then they're taught that, therefore, anyone who opposes them, it doesn't disagree, but they're evil. Mm-hmm. And it just so happens that if you're opposite of what the National Democrats say on all those points, you're probably a born-again Christian. In other words, we have a lot of people who vote perhaps for the same party as I would most of the time vote for, who aren't Christians, and they don't care about abortion. We have a lot of gay Republicans who say, I'm for gay marriage and I'm a Republican. Okay, fine. That's politics. I'm not, but I'm against gay marriage, right? So this is what I think the crossover comes. Charlie Kirk is a Christian. It's not politics now, it's religion. His politics is driven by his Christian faith. And there's a spiritual battle going on. And the left is godless. And they've been godless for a long time. In my lifetime, they've given up God. And, you know, they say, well, Nancy Pelosi's a Catholic and Harry Reid is a Catholic. Yeah, but they don't do anything the Catholic Church wants them to do. Right? They don't care about abortion. They don't care about gay marriage. They're going to go with their party over their church any day. So they're not really religious. They're phonies. And I'm speaking as a Christian here. I think they're every Republican is a Christian when he wants my vote. But I don't think most of them are Christians. Mm-hmm. He just knows which buttons to push to get my vote. And I'm cynical enough to say, okay, I guess I have to vote for you because I don't have a better choice.
Well, and to add to that, what bothered me most about what that young lady was saying was her phrase, he is literally the devil. First of all, literally there is a problem. But yes. It's religious language.
Yes.
And what you're describing is in objective reality,
yes.
There's objective truth. And being on the side of what is true means you can know good from evil.
Right.
So if the left says you're evil for disagreeing with us, and the right says you're evil for disagreeing with us, which I think is the root of what you're describing right now. One of them doesn't have to be true. In this case, it is true, though.
Because the only options are one is right, one is wrong, or both are wrong.
Yes.
But
there
can't
is
both be
real
right.
truth.
There is truth.
Yeah.
And so what we have, there's a lawlessness that's come to our country, and it comes from the left, period. And we have to have the courage to say that. And
I just keep thinking of Jesus, in John 4 when he addresses the Samaritan woman, because when I read that story, I think how gentle he is being on that woman. But she says, one of her questions when she starts to realize who he is, you guys worship on one mountain, we worship on the other. We both have what we would call objective truth. This is where you're supposed to worship. And he's addressing something totally different, but he gets to the heart of it. And he says, no, salvation is from the Jews.
You're wrong.
He cares for the woman. He loves that woman.
But then he comes back to the bigger picture.
Yes.
Yes, and if you're saying likewise, we should, yes, we should, but first we have to understand the world we live in. That conversation would be like a conversation between you and I and Glenn Beck. In other words, she was in a Jewish cult called the Samaritans. Yep. They held to the first 5 books of the Old Testament or the Jewish Bible, but then they made all the changes they want. Much like the Mormons say they hold to the New Testament and the Old Testament, but then they completely gut the truth of who Christ is. Yeah. So we could argue with Glenn Beck, and it's friendlier than arguing with someone who thinks you're a Satanist. And
But Jesus in that moment would take the opportunity to say, sorry, buddy, you're believing a lie.
Well, let's, before we get to the actual how to do apologetics, I want to set the table for the context. What's actually happening? The liberal academy has been godless for a long time. Feminism, that's one of mine I always talk about. I need to put it on my board. Feminism is not an original idea. It is a communist idea. Communism is probably the root cause of Western decay in academia. By that I mean this. Karl Marx believed in the devil, but he did not believe in God. There's a great book by one of the professors at Grove City. I think it's called The Devil and Karl Marx. I'm not saying he believed in a literal devil, but he might have. But he was definitely anti-God, so he sided with a literal devil. And he would say so. He thought belief in God was the problem. And so he came up with, how do you make a moral world, a fair world, without God in it? And he came up with communism. And it underestimates, obviously, the truth of the Bible that says humans are evil, and they're not going to be motivated to work hard if you're only going to give them one little portion. And they are going to be motivated to get more from other people through corruption, and they will oppress others, and they won't care if you kill people, because humans are like that. So that system, though, feminism is very similar. Feminism believes you need to reject the Christian God outright. There are, let's call them feminist evangelicals, but their job is to change the Bible, change the meaning of Scripture. Most feminists reject Scripture outright because they have to reject the family as a prison for women, run by the men, invented by men to keep a woman down. And so there's a godlessness to it. And humanism has a godlessness to it. The whole idea, there's people arguing that our morality didn't come from the Reformation, but it came from the Enlightenment. And I realize I'm leaving some people behind, so I'll try to fill it in a little, but some people know what I mean. In the 15 and 1600s, the world changed because the printing press came and ideas began to be spread, much like now with the internet. And some of those ideas were that you could read the Bible for yourself. You didn't have to trust Roman priests and their Latin and their foolishness. And that led to changes in nations. But it also meant you could print anything, anyone's philosophy. And so you have these two concurrent movements that are now historians looking back call the Reformation and the Enlightenment. And they would mix in the Renaissance or the recreation of the thriving arts and whatnot. So there's people today who want to argue, especially atheists, well, the Reformation didn't do anything for the West. It was the Enlightenment. Man became smart and he realized there's science. And so that led to a humanism that's also godless, which communism adopted that idea too. The idea of evolution. If you don't believe there's a God, let's erase evolution, act like no one thought of it. Now let's go back to your brain. If you don't believe there's a God, and there is no theory for how everything got here except God, what theory could you come up with?
You trace it back to the smallest possible.
All you can do is say it all happened by itself.
Mm-hmm.
The reason people hold to this idea of subtle mutation over millions of years, even though it's not logical, it's not possible, is philosophical.
Mm-hmm.
So, but once you have that in place, the idea there's no God, we all just accidentally got here, which is an impossibility. There is no God, but it is actually the throwing off of the God in the Enlightenment that allowed us to think for ourselves. You have the building pieces for communism, for feminism, and academia, because mankind in general wants to rebel. So they go against God. And they've been training in godlessness. Trust me, at Penn State, I had liberal arts professors who were very hostile to my faith. Now, I had some who weren't, but who were humanists. But they were just reasonable people. They still had that on them. But trust me, there was a lot of hate for what I believed. And they think of it as evil. Well, they've taken over. I mean, when you had that whole BLM movement, that's critical race theory. Whenever you hear the word critical, here's your sign. It means communist. Because when the communism failed everywhere it's tried, they changed it. They used the word critical theory. So it's critical economic theory. It's critical this theory. It's critical that theory. Well, critical race theory. It's just a communist way of looking at it. Who's oppressed and who's the oppressor? The oppressor's evil. The oppressed is not. If you're black, you're oppressed by nature. Who's the oppressor? Must be the white folk, especially the males. So they're evil. So you have a lot of these things pushing together. So you have a Charlie Kirk who looks not like the opposition, not even like an American who disagrees on policy, but like the devil. And he's presented by the devil in the colleges. And the colleges have trained our public school teachers. And the colleges have trained our journalist people. And then they are good old boy clubs. In other words, if you were a great journalist coming out of J school and you managed to stay conservative, you wouldn't get a job at the New York Times because of your politics, because of your worldview. So, and likewise, you can't get tenure at most universities if you're conservative. And if you don't get tenure, it means you can't keep your job. It means you're part-time and you're going to go. So they became
practically, once you take a small group of thinkers who all decide on the same idea, all you have to do is emotionally charge it. People don't even need to know what you're talking about. If you can get them to react emotionally.
And everyone agrees that all the professors think like this. All the scientists agree. And that's what came across during COVID. There's scientific consensus on this. Oh, so if there's scientific consensus, everyone's supposed to roll over. All the professors agree. Well, let's roll over then. And there's a lot of power in that. But what they didn't realize they were doing, and here's where they shoot themselves in the foot, they were building the silo not from the outside where they could see the world, but from the inside. And they're all stuck in it. And they have no idea that outside, we're actually kind of happy. We're planting trees and starting businesses and getting married and loving each other. And we look at them and go, you folks are nuts. And they think outside the wall, it's just a bunch of Neanderthals with their knuckles dragging on the ground. He's actually, I don't want to hear that he's a father. He's the actual devil. So we have this, but the worst ones are the Christians. The worst ones are the Christians from the left's point of view. Because they won't budge on abortion. They won't budge on marriage. They won't budge on
Too dogmatic.
Yes. So they're the evil. Well, once someone's evil, you can kill them. Like when Osama bin Laden got killed, people celebrated in America. No one said you shouldn't celebrate that. Why? Because we saw him as the devil. He blew up 3,000 of our people with planes. He was always trying to kill us all. That's called war. So when you see people celebrating the death of Charlie Kirk, to them it's war. The rest of us are going, why are you celebrating?
Yeah.
This guy just got shot. He's a father. Well, it's war. That's the enemy. I think that's how they look at it.
That brings me to a question. I don't know if you want to address it now or later, but
if you ask it, I'll address it.
Okay. About your sermon, the one immediately following Charlie's death. So I had a guy talk to me, and he said he remembers probably a couple months ago when you addressed the Epstein files and said, in his words, and I don't remember what you said, so this is just his memory, who cares about the Epstein files, because God is going to have his vengeance. So don't worry so much about justice, like whether or not justice gets served properly in your mind now, because it will be done by God at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in that sermon, in this most recent sermon, you said, we want the guy that killed Charlie Kirk to get saved. And even if he does get saved, hang him. Yes. Which caused some controversy on Facebook. But and I think this is a classic reaction to Mike's strong statements. It's people missing why this is a total different topic. So that's why I said, I don't know if you want to talk about it now.
Oh, I don't mind.
Why you would say hang him, especially in light of this.
So and you're right. One of the things that I've been not good at since childhood and didn't know it was a problem until I got older.
Brushing your teeth.
No, I was always pretty good at that. And God has given me good, strong enamel. But I leap to the conclusion when I communicate. And I don't give the steps.
People are with you?
Yes. Whether they're with me or not, I think, well, this is the conclusion. Let's say it. And then, but that requires you to backfill.
Mm-hmm.
A better way to do it, probably a more Charlie Kirkian way to do it, and I'm not Charlie Kirk, and I'm going to try to be more sensitive and do better, but I'm not going to try to be who I'm not. But he would take you step by step by step. Well, if this is true, what about this? Oh, well, if that's true. In fact, one of the things I really like that he does that I wish I'd seen 30 years ago is he was talking with one guy, and nothing he said they'd agree on. So then he said, let's find some common ground. And he said a statement that he knew that they would both agree with. And the guy said, yeah, I agree with that. He goes, good, we found some common ground. Let's work out from there. Very often I just go to the conclusion. So, does it matter what Epstein did? Yes. Should governments give justice? Yes. I'm still jumping to the end. Let me justify why. The Bible institutes human government in Genesis chapter 9. When it says that all human souls are mine, and you have to give an account. Whether you're an animal or a person, if you spill the blood of a human, you have to give an account to me, because they're made in my image.
It's an honoring of the human status.
If an animal kills a human, that animal must die. Not because the animal did something morally wrong, because it didn't, but it's out of order. Animals don't kill things much more valuable than them and are allowed to live. It's not okay. It's like letting your dog live if he eats the baby in the nursery. You just have no idea what you're doing. Or your pet rat live if you choose the baby in the nursery. You're like, I wouldn't do that. And so God sets that out. And people say, well, the bear was only doing what came natural. It shouldn't be put down. Yes, it should. Okay, but if a human kills a human, the Bible says, if a man sheds man's blood, by man shall his blood be shed. And in that moment, he instituted human government. Because you could kill a bear that kills a human, but you can't kill the person who kills you. Right? All the humans get together and say the bear killed him and kill the bear. I guess that's a form of very casual government, but it doesn't take that much work.
No court in session for that one.
And it really doesn't matter that much if you're wrong. Killed the wrong bear. No one's going to know. But if a man kills a man, well, first he's going to try to cover it up. Someone has to figure it out. And then the society around him, the tribe, if you will, the family, the tribe, has to say, you did it. Kind of like this family turned this guy in. It takes an organization, and then it has to be fair. Many centuries later, God would send a guy named Moses who would give one nation, Israel, a righteous civil law, and it would explain how to do it. Now, thou shalt not murder is a moral law, but they also gave the civil law, and it didn't just say thou shalt not murder. It said, but don't punish someone unless you have two witnesses as a testimony. Why? Well, it's still not foolproof because two people could lie and say they saw it. But it puts them both on the hook. And if no one saw it, and that person says he didn't do it, and there's not enough evidence to prove that he did, he's going to get away with it. And there will be injustice in the world. But the government's job is to find out who did it and punish the man with capital punishment, because it's the value of the man.
Because the man is made in the image of God.
That's right.
Yeah.
So people will say, well, how's that pro-life? The way it's pro-life is this. It says that there's nothing more valuable on the whole planet than the man you killed. Therefore, the punishment has to equal the crime. And period. That's the worst crime you can do. You have to give up your life. And that tells all of society, don't do that. Let's not kill one another.
And just practically speaking, when that's where eye for an eye idea comes from, because what it means is the eye of a human is, let's say, replaced by the value of another eye from another human. But let's take it a step further, where Jesus repeats those words and says, but I say to you.
Well, let's stop for a minute there, because your question still isn't answered.
Okay.
But I do want to, let's pick up that string. Just leave it there. So how can I say of Epstein's, if we can find out who did the bad thing, the government should enforce the laws it has against it. And by the way, those laws may not even be just in God's eyes. In other words, let's say it's 20 hours of community service for raping a child. That's not just. Just would either, I think the death penalty is just for that, but at least the rest of your life in jail. Something, right, that makes it equal to what you did. It should be as equal as possible. But whatever your nation says is the just punishment, they should figure it out, prove the case, and do it.
And to add to that, I think if his quote of you is correct, what you're arguing is not that. It's if the guys never get caught,
they're not getting away with nothing.
Exactly.
That's
God
exactly,
has his justice.
That's right. Because if you don't have government justice, you'll have lawlessness. And if you have lawlessness, it's not safe for boys and girls, men and women to live. Because people are evil. So with Epstein's, to clarify, if you can get the evidence, do it. And if you can prosecute him, do it. But if you think Epstein got away with anything, oh no. In fact, whether he hung himself or someone else hung him, it doesn't really matter.
Something worse is coming for him.
They talk about mercy kill. People kill themselves because they can't take their life. How do you know the second after you die it's better? There's no mercy in that grave. Yeah. And so what should be done with this woman who said those horrible things is we should love her. And if you know her, I mean, you can't if you don't know her. We don't have to hate her. She could be you or me had circumstances been different. Same even with the killer. I mean, you'd have to be truly hard-hearted not to have some compassion on that family. And even if you knew him, the kid was being deceived. Jesus said, offenses are going to come, but woe to him through whom they come. Whoever helped lead this young man, he's not a kid, down the wrong road, is going to be guilty before God, even if he's not guilty before man. Right? But a society that doesn't hang the murderer if he's got him is a wicked society. It's not a safe society. But I do think he's not a worse sinner than you, Isaac. And I'm going to go on public record. I was going to say me, but that sounds self-depreciating, and everyone say he didn't mean it. He's not a worse sinner than you.
Yeah.
As far as I know. Only one who can measure that is God. He might be a worse sinner than you. He might not be a worse sinner than you. I don't know what's in your heart. I don't know how God measures these things. But you're both worthy of eternal fire and punishment. And so it was grace that someone preached the gospel to you, and it is unkind not to preach the gospel to him. So I will say it again. Preach the gospel to him, get him saved, and then hang him swiftly because he murdered a human being. And I think that's just and best for society.
Will wanted me to mention he watched Hang 'em High over the weekend.
With did he see that before? That's Clint Eastwood.
I think he did.
That's a good movie. So let me show you a couple more of these vids to show you some of the reactions out there. I want to give you one positive from the Democrat Party side, and I'm going to say it this way. The Democrat Party right now has no leaders. And I'm giving you, this is my opinion, not biblical. I'm trying to measure the culture I live in. By this I mean they've become the party nationally, I'm not saying locally, they've become the party where they respect one thing, power. You might say all political parties just want power. No one's perfect, but no one's completely imperfect necessarily. So we're talking about a range. For example, pick your favorite politician. For you, it might be Trump. For you, it might be Vance. For you, it might be Shapiro. You must think somewhere in that guy is some moral standard that you can agree with. He's not completely motivated by power, hopefully. But the Democrats, well, the Republicans will fight with each other in public. The Democrats won't. Why? Because they want to do whatever makes power. Look at the deal they made with the devil over Biden. They said, Biden will make you president, but you don't get to do anything. We'll call all the shots behind the scene. And I knew it at the time when it was happening. I even said it at the time when it was happening. I lost a guy in our congregation because he says, you don't know he's got dementia. What do you know? And he left the church. But I was just telling the truth. And I'm telling you the truth now. The deal they made with that devil was, let's put him in there and you get to be president like you always wanted. But you don't. We're going to call the shots, whoever we are. We're still not sure who ran the auto pen, who made the decisions, who was running the show. All kinds of corruption came into our government that more than was already there.
And if you didn't think that was true several years ago, when you saw him be replaced swiftly, and they tried to be as quiet as possible, like that.
Yeah.
Clearly.
Yeah, take him out, put another one in.
Yeah.
And
just pretend like nothing happened.
And her campaign was nothing.
Yeah.
She couldn't say anything because she couldn't speak against him, so she couldn't be the change candidate. But she couldn't say what she really believed, whatever that is, because it might offend the voter. So she pretty much didn't say anything. And there was no vote, and whoever ran things was going to keep running them. What is that? That's the desire for blind, naked power. And that has them stalled right now because no one is standing up morally. The only ones who stand up on their morals are the people you call the squad, the Muslims. Now, their morals, I think, are of the devil. They're pro-abortion. They're pro-Islam. You know, they're pro, I think, tyranny. They want to take away people's guns, people's rights. But they're the only ones with any ideologies, even if it's a bad one. Bernie Sanders is at least a communist. He says so. Most of them, the Schumers, the Pelosi's, they have zero morals. They just want power. So whatever produces power, and that's how they govern. So they don't know what to do right now. This is my opinion, my analysis. They have no idea what to do right now. Because if they speak out against the killer, they're going to upset the tranny community, right? They don't want to lose the vote of the thousands and thousands of teachers and other government workers who were celebrating Charlie's death, which they will lose. So they're leaderless. They're rudderless. There's one exception that I've seen since he died on the national level. And believe it or not, it's a guy who I don't think we should have elected in Pennsylvania, and he never seems to vote a way I like. But it's Lurch. It's it's Fetterman. And so I got a Fetterman clip here. You're going to have to probably do your expando trick for it, Sunshine. I think it's some of these videos won't let us download as easily, so we're shortcutting them.
While she's bringing that up, can I pick up the thread of the gospel that we were going to talk about? Which is that
hold off playing that.
In the conversation of valuing human life through judicial execution, I think about Jesus' words where he reiterates the law. He emphasizes that is true, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. But then in the ultimate irony, he who deserves all honor and glory received the opposite while teaching the one who slaps you on the right cheek. Turn to him the other also.
It's very dicey stuff. We have to be very careful.
But I'm just thinking the reality of the gospel is that he chose not to enact the vengeance that he rightly could have.
Yes, but he will.
By being killed.
Okay, so this is a good example to show you how we have to pick this apart and be nuanced to understand what was going on. There are some who are pacifists. They're against all war because they're Christians. They're against all capital punishment. They don't realize that they're really anarchists because they have to be against all punishment. When Jesus said, you've heard it said, eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth, and then he said, but I tell you, you've heard it said, hate your enemies, I tell you. He was giving you your personal ethic.
Yeah, not undoing the necessity.
He was not taking away the government. In fact, Paul in Romans made it clear as you can make it. Straight on, he said, you must obey your human authorities, for they're from God. And God did not give them the sword for nothing, but to punish evildoers. Mm-hmm. So your government, according to the New Testament, post-resurrection, is given a sword. Now, swords aren't used for tickling people, but cutting off heads. So the imagery is one of punishment for doing evil. And you must submit to the government. And Jesus submitted to the fake government of Herod on a trial, the real government of the Sanhedrin, the Jews, and the government of the Romans. Now, all of them were acting in an unjust fashion, but he left them. But there's never been a command to the government not to turn the other to turn the other cheek, because then you'd have anarchy, you'd have madness, and no, it goes the other way. Are they taxing you? Give unto Caesar what is Caesar's. That's submission to authority. So I personally try to live by this standard: never defend yourself. Now, it's kind of funny saying that because I am very competitive, and verbally I find it very hard not to defend myself all the time. And I sometimes get into trouble in my flesh because I'll react too quickly. And
well, the reason that I bring that up,
but I try never to defend myself because of what Jesus said,
is not the emphasis on government or ourselves, but more, I loved your analogy of, not loved, but the rat killing the baby, because it's innocence and something totally worthless.
Right.
And what we see in that is a picture of innocent Jesus who could have done whatever he wanted to stop these things, these unjust things from happening to him, willingly submit himself.
Why did he do that?
For the salvation of the people.
Talk about it to me in legal terms. Why did he do it?
Because there was a necessary requirement of the punishment of death for sin.
For the sake
he took it on himself.
For the sake of justice.
Yeah.
He could not have brought cosmic justice of forgiveness of sins if he didn't allow the wicked justice of man to oppress him. And that's just a cool thing about Jesus. But he still did that, but he does not want our societies to run this day in anarchy.
That's right.
Any government is better than zero government for a nation, but many governments are far more evil than other governments, and they're all going to be judged by God. But anyway, I want to give some kudos to Fetterman because he's actually acting like a leader. A leader is going to call out who? His own people. And he's the only one I've heard nationally that says some of these Democrats need to shut up. So go ahead and hit it.
Excited for
Don't compare him to anyone. And if you do, then you will incite somebody to say, well, now I feel like I have to stop that and take them out. People have seemed to have forgotten that the president took a shot to the head. And can you imagine if that shot would have gone the way Charlie Kirk's one, and what kind of condition our nation would be in? This is such a dangerous time right now. And now why? You don't need this an opportunity to share your opinions on it. Just, again, it's appalling, and allow folks enough space to grieve. The man hasn't even been buried yet. And it's like, that's why we wanted to have a conversation, that we have to find a way to work together. Don't compare him to anyone.
All right, stop.
And if you
Thank you. He's repeating. So what he's saying, if you compare Trump to Hitler, people are going to start thinking, I got to stop Hitler. And they've been calling the right-wing fascists and Hitler and evil. I think if you look back to Hillary's basket of deplorables, she described half the country as deplorables. Human trash. Human trash. And that rhetoric, that way of speaking is, I think the word is endemic. It's stuck in, it's dyed into the wool of all the rhetoric you hear coming from the left. Even the ones who maybe don't believe it, because they don't want to lose votes. Like Schumer. I don't think Schumer believes half the things he goes along with. But he knows that if he doesn't go along with them, I'm going to lose the tranny vote. I'm going to lose the furry vote. I'm going to lose the black queer vote. I'm going to lose, the abortion vote. It doesn't matter. He wants the power. So I actually, hats off to Fetterman. That is called leadership. And it's funny because his party is against him because he's leading. You know who else was leading in the Democrat Party was Tulsi Gabbard. I remember when she was up there, I thought if they would throw their weight behind her, she could win. She could win. She could be powerful. But they didn't like her because she didn't stick to the company line. And so I think this is a problem. We have messaging in the country. Now let's pull this to why do we identify with Charlie Kirk as Christians? Why is it hitting us so hard? I think it's because we look at Charlie. He's not a president. He's not a politician. No, he does political things. But he was really killed because he's a Christian. And because he believes the same things I believe. Period. And so then what you're saying is being me is literally the devil, as that girl said, to a lot of people. And that shakes us. I think we feel that on a spiritual level, to literally be the devil. Let me show you some positives, though. The second one I think I sent you. Go ahead and play that. This has been a common theme since he died, also.
So I got disowned by my sister-in-law for mourning Charlie Kirk. I never post on my Facebook about my political views because that's just kind of where I have a lot of close friends and family. And a lot of my close friends and family don't agree with me on politics.
This is, by the way, happening in
Charlie
my family
Kirk's
right now, my extended
assassination,
family.
I just came out with it. I said that I'm a Christian, I'm a Republican.
The Christians
I'm
have been
for
just putting up with the
accountability. I
leftists.
supported
Now
Charlie
they're
Kirk.
not going to.
And if you need to block me or unfollow me, then do so, but this is who I am. My sister-in-law makes a post saying how it's so insane if you supported somebody who is anti-immigration and hateful and homophobic and racist, which is so weird because I don't even know who she's talking about. Sounds horrible. And then you go and you eat dinner with your Mexican family. So obviously I confronted her and I was like, hey, was this about me? She's like, no, it wasn't about you, but it applies to you. And I was like, oh yeah, well, I don't know how because I'm not racist, homophobic, hateful, whatever. And then I went on to inform her because she's one of those liberals who thinks that the Triple K group comes from Republicans and calls the President of the United States a Cheeto man. So I'm obviously dealing with somebody very sophisticated.
I actually like that. That's funny.
I just informed her
Like
that
Cheeto
those
man.
things were wrong, and then she blocked me. I knew who she was the whole time. I knew what she believed in, and I didn't agree with any of it. But I still loved her, and I still sat with her and ate with her, and I was still her friend. She has treated me with hate and brought my kids into it at times. From this point on, I'm going to be much louder than I was before and much more unapologetic. And I don't have room in my life for hateful people, so you can take yourselves out.
Okay, that sentiment I'm hearing a lot. Are you?
Oh, my goodness, yeah.
Especially from women.
Mm-hmm.
Because the women are nice. I have a family that spans the coasts. And some of the younger generations, not all of them, have been indoctrinated into stupid. And we've always just put up with it, right? By we, I mean we conservatives, my kids and everything. And because we're the nice ones. We're like, okay, well, let's not go ahead and hate everything we love. We're going to hang out with you and love you. But my own son said there are people who are no longer my friend. By friends, by the way, we're not saying disowning. This is social media talk for no longer Facebook connected, no longer Instagram chatter people. I think my son and others, like even her, would be kind to the person. They're just saying, well, I ain't going to play anymore.
Mm-hmm.
They've had it. And that's the effect of Charlie Kirk. Why? Can you connect those two? I haven't thought about how come that is her reaction to Charlie Kirk getting shot?
I mean, I think that it's related to what you said of like it feels personal because when you get to the root of it and as a Christian you go, wait a minute, I agree with everything that he says. I just haven't been that bold about it. Then you start to react and think, what's the point anymore? What, like, if the sides are becoming unhinged, why would I stay quiet now?
Yeah.
Because I think Christians
it hasn't worked.
No.
It hasn't made peace.
Christians tend to want to, at least in my opinion, pursue that which is a gentle way of loving people into the kingdom.
Right.
Now, I don't know if you feel that, but I'm just kidding. But
reputation. I'm a lovable little fuzzball.
There is this natural instinct to be like, okay, I'm gonna brush this thing aside so that I can deal with the major thing, so that I can have the opportunity to share the gospel in a big way and not take offense at these little things. But then you start to realize, no, these little things build to the whole reality, to the whole picture.
That's right.
And so why yield in even the small things?
Thank you for that. I think you're exactly right. That is it. And the small things do add up.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been always the prophet crying in the wilderness, by the way. My family would tell you how embarrassing it is to be related to me, because I'm always the one saying, correcting grammar when people use the plural when they should use the singular so they can avoid the pronoun. I'm like, you can't do that. You can't use they there. It's he or she. And why do you have to be so uptight? You know what they mean. I'm like, because they're trying to brainwash us. I've been that guy for years. I'm the guy watching. I can't take another woman cop. Why? Because they're not as tough as they make them look. She's 20. She's beautiful, and she knows how to fight. She doesn't know how to fight. They're like, would you shut up? I'm like, they're brainwashing us. So I'm hard to live with. But it doesn't work if everyone's as... Well, it's not really nice. You think it's nice not to tell the truth.
It feels nice, but in reality,
it feels conflict avoidance.
Yeah.
But anyway, hit that next video. Let's just see what we got there. I'm looking for more positives here. Please, when you're ready.
This might be an unpopular opinion.
Oh,
I will no longer be someone who suppresses their beliefs, suppresses what I support, suppresses how I feel about certain issues. Because I have done that for the majority of my life, for the sake of being liked, for the sake of conforming to what others believe in, because I don't want to hurt their feelings and I want to be well liked by everyone. I came to the realization, I am not trying to get into your kingdom, so I no longer am seeking your approval nor your validation. I am seeking to get into the kingdom of Jesus Christ, and that is the only person whose approval and validation I will be seeking
that,
from
right?
here on
That's
out.
good. You
I
can
will
stop
stand
her.
in my truth. I will continue.
Stop her. You gotta love that. And again, that's her response to someone shooting some dude in Utah that she doesn't know.
Yeah.
That I care more what Jesus thinks than what man thinks. I'm going to overcome my fear. I've heard a lot of women say that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you know what I've heard men say?
What?
I can't believe that young man got so much done for good in such a short time. You even said it when we were sitting here. Earlier today, I was talking with a man who's about my age, and he brought it up. And I asked him, why do you say that? Because he was saying, I don't know if I do enough. I could spend more time influencing my kids. I could spend more time doing the right thing over here, doing the right thing over there. Men are thinking about productivity when they look at him. But anyway, hit some of the men. There's a man who looks kind of brown, looks like a Mexican. You just see the top of his head. He's above the mean girl. She's a meanie. I love you, mean girl. I want you saved, but you're a meanie.
And you're wrong about the devil.
And you're wrong about the devil. The devil is much worse than Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk isn't even bad. I mean, he seemed like such a nice guy. He's way nicer than anyone but Isaac, I think.
I was going to say way nicer than you.
He's nicer than me, that's for sure. But he must joke around, right?
If you go to church this Sunday,
do you see it there?
I see the one right above the mean one you said.
Oh no, that's the black dude.
I was
Sorry.
gonna say, that's the
So I'm going to say this in a way that I don't mean anything negative. Let's get rid of the black dude.
You
and go to the other black dude. There's another black dude. Go to the other black dude. We're replacing one black dude
the one
with
from
another.
X with the glasses.
Yeah, can you get that black dude?
I saw an AI.
You're going to like this black dude. He's kind of femmy.
I saw an AI picture yesterday where it's just a crowd of people, and they're all wearing "We Are All Charlie Kirks Now" shirts. And
it was creepy, wasn't it?
It's so creepy.
AI is always
But I do
creepy.
want to talk about that once we
hear this femme black dude, one of your buddies,
my guy.
Okay, hi TikTok. So, I am a college student, and I have really been pondering over the past week politics, my worldview and just where I stand politically, because after, you know, the events that unfolded over the past week, and the strong visceral reaction to it online, I really sat and like thought about it. Like really just made me sit
Okay,
and
cut
think,
this video. Come back.
am I on
Camera on Isaac.
a good side of politics? Am I actually like...
This is how I present myself.
Yeah. You're the white version of that.
Oh, my stomach hurts.
There is one condition for employment.
Oh, I thought he was going to be muscular and deep-voiced.
At Harvest, if you can't laugh at yourself, you're not going to make it here. We spare no one, not even me.
I'm not going to be able to watch.
Let's go to the next one.
Giggles.
Go to the other black dude.
Oh, my
There's
God.
another black dude. See how fair I am? I love all the black. This is a more manly black dude. He's going to be a little bit more like me, I think. He's.
This is like who would portray us in the movie of Us.
Well, I would love it if this guy portrayed me. He's tough. He's got a big dad. What does that thing say on his? What's it say on his shirt?
Man, the myth, the
The
legend.
man, the myth, the legend. There you go. That's. Here you go.
I've been sitting in my car for the last hour or so, just trying to process the last couple of days.
Could you turn him up in here? He's kind of
Forgive
quiet.
me if I don't have the energy. It has
Maybe even
been
on the recording.
really troubling. I just came here to announce my official divorce from the Democratic Party. And you're talking to a guy who's been voted Democrat since I was 18 years old. Up until recently, I've been changing how I vote, but still carrying the label, you know. I'm the type of guy who doesn't jump ship. I try to be the voice of reason within the ship to try to steer it back to a true north. But this party has lost its way. The Democratic Party, let's be honest, has become demonic and barbaric. And I, as a Christian, can't be a part of that anymore. Look, I'm a proud and beautiful black man. I love being black. I love my skin, everything that comes with it.
I can hear you saying that.
I was a proud Democrat. I remember they used to stand for the right thing. But before I'm beautifully black, before I am a member of any party, I'm a born-again Christian.
All right.
I'm a born-again Christian, and the Democratic Party right now doesn't represent my values, my ethics, and I can't support the barbarism and the divisiveness that they've been engaged in. I mean, we could run down the list, guys.
You can stop it there. I think you get a feel for that.
I believe they'd say he took the red pill.
You know, he's red-pilled. What I really like about him, though, is that's the kind of guy you want in the GOP. I don't want any party-first people. I want belief-first people. And by the way, I'm not in the GOP. I'm registered independent because I was so disgusted with both parties a number of years ago. But I love what he had to say. He says, it's because they're opposed to everything I believe in. I think he's seeing it correctly. I'm seeing the same thing. This manly white dude. Go ahead and hit that other white dude. Let's see. I want to see what all these videos say. I only got about 2 or 3 left.
Mm-hmm. This one?
Yeah, let's see what this white dude has to say. There was another guy. By the way, I heard a lot of this. People saying I'm leaving the Democrat Party. They can't all be fake. So let's hear this one.
So I have officially left the Democratic Party a few days ago, and I haven't made a video about it. Really haven't told anybody besides my brother about it. And the reason I did it was because I cannot be linked and affiliated with a party that has members in it that would do exactly what happened to Charlie Kirk. Now, you could say that the shooter, the information we got from him is that he was a conservative and he came from a conservative family. True, that is true. But his family did say he's been radicalized. Regardless of his political affiliation, just like I know that I've been a Democrat for my entire adult life, and I am thinking the way that I'm thinking now, he can think the opposite as well, regardless of him being a conservative. But somebody who would do something like that to somebody who is just talking about free speech, conservative values, and God, obviously hates what Charlie represented. Charlie himself, the movement that he started, which is a right-wing movement. And the only other people that have called the right-wing fascists are leftists. The left, the Democratic Party, Democratic speakers, Democratic news organizations. They've called the right fascists for years now. And one of his bullet casings was labeled fascist. For me, it was a huge move. I did it on 9/11/2025, and I registered Democrat when I first turned 18 in 2008. I voted for Obama. At the time, I did not like the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq, and Republicans and conservatives meant, for me, they meant war, and I did not want that as an 18-year-old. I did not want that. They were unjust, no weapons of mass destruction, they lied. I didn't want that. And so I voted for Obama. Obama was very, very, he was a very, very good speaker.
Smooth.
And he was also just so almost regular guyish at the time, like very, very friendly.
I think we got the flavor. That's enough. First, I want your reaction, but first I got to say one thing I love about your generation is they just pull out a phone and start talking to it.
I can't get over that.
I want to start
so
doing
weird
it. I need to start doing that.
He'd just walk in and
it looks like he lives in
palm
Florida.
trees, yeah.
Beautiful. I mean, what do you think about what he had to say?
It's just, I guess it's not surprising. I mean, I was seeing videos like this.
He broke out of the
months
silo
ago.
because he's a young man. That's what made Charlie dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, go ahead. You said you were seeing videos like this months ago.
Of people who, well, it's just, I think we've said it on here before, as the left gets further left, the people who are slightly left or middle start to look right, if that makes sense.
Yep.
And it's a natural result of idiocy, I guess. I don't know. It's
Natural result. So we have two videos left, Maddie and Mimi Puff. Either one of them. I'll take Maddie or Mimi Puff. Let's see what I can't remember why I sent them. I was just on a video binge, just sending stuff.
Oh, I know.
Did you see that Forrest Frank?
Well, I was trying to get a lot of reactions. What's that?
Forrest Frank lost 30,000 followers.
Yeah, did you see
when
that?
he posted about Charlie Kirk?
I don't know what Forrest Frank is.
He's a Christian singer, rapper.
Yeah, but he's like big in not just the Christian community, but
Yeah.
just like globally. He's in like top charts on like music.
And so he comes out with a video. It's a graph of his followers that just drops off a cliff. And you kind of almost expect it to be like an apology, like, I can't believe this is happening. And he's like, I don't care. I don't want you following me. Jesus is coming back. It's awesome.
Well, was he pro Charlie Kirk or against?
Pro.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. All right. I thought he was against, and that's why I lost. Because there's people losing their jobs now.
I think
for dancing on Charlie's grave.
Oh, jeez.
All over the place, they're losing their job.
I think you would not like Forrest Frank by nature of he's popular, but you'd like him for his heart.
I like good music.
You wouldn't like his music, I don't think.
I don't like a lot of pop though. All right, let's see it. Let's see this girl. This is Maddie
When I
Evans.
walk away from the Democratic Party video that I did, a lot of black women reached out to me in my DMs and said, hey, I want to switch over to, like, I'm done with the left, I'm done with the Democratic Party. I think 5.1 million people switched over in the last 5 days.
I don't know if that's true. Whoa. I
wanted to share with you the 10 positive things that's happened in
that's
my
pretty
life
cool
since
if it
I
is.
left the Democratic Party. Hi, my name is Nika. Not Nike. Let's do it.
Nikki.
Number one, and the most imperative, is that I found my way back to God. Faith is no longer an accessory in my life. It is the foundation of my life.
That's
Number two,
awesome.
I shed the heavy cloak of oppression, depression. My spirit feels much lighter, and I don't identify with the victim mindset anymore. Number three, I now practice radical accountability. I kind of already did it, but now I really do it.
What does that mean?
If everything is my fault, then nothing can make me powerless. If everything is in my control, nothing can make me powerless. This one might be a little controversial. Consider
That's
that
Will.
I have psychology.
Yeah,
that is Will
what's
Land.
Jocko call that?
Closed the door
radical
permanently on going to
leadership
therapy.
something.
Yeah.
I just feel
Extreme
like
ownership,
a lot of
that's
the
what it is.
therapists are also equally unstable. like we saw a lot of them came out in the last 4 days cheering the death of Charlie, which is crazy. You're a therapist, and so I feel like they.
You know, she just keeps getting more lovely the more she talks.
So now I turn to God.
Remember that, ladies. If you talk smart, you look even prettier.
So many
if you talk ugly,
library, I just go get a book about it.
You lose ground.
I personally would never step foot in a therapist's office ever again in my life. Personally. Number 5, my mind expanded the moment I left that echo chamber behind, because when I was liberal, I would sit in this echo chamber and I would never research anything. Whatever clip I saw that's viral, I would just believe it. Whatever my friend says happening, I just believed it. And I remember the very first time I did my research about anything was 2023, and I felt so much guilt for doing research. Like I heard Obama said something, and I was like, yes, Trump is evil. And then I was like, maybe I should just research that. It was I had never done that before, and I Googled what he said, and it wasn't true. And I remember feeling guilty for actually researching. But now that I'm no longer in that echo chamber, my mind feels so expanded. I research everything. Everything I see online, I go straight to Google to
okay,
confirm
that's
it.
good. I think we got a feel for her. So she doesn't sound like English is her first language, or if it is, it's Caribbean English, which is English is her first language. But very nice, very nice. So what I love there is Charlie definitely pushed people towards church. I didn't get a bunch of them, but there are a bunch of videos, because I thought Sunshine needs a break. There are a bunch of videos, people saying, I went back to church for the first time. Well, let's end this with Mimi Puff, and then we can close up with any words we have.
I have a couple questions, too.
Okay, questions are good, too. There is one video I'm not showing you guys. Piers Morgan talking to Charlie Sheen. It's just interesting to hear Charlie Sheen talking on the right side of a matter. He must be out of cocaine.
Or into a lot of it.
No, he's done. He's done. He's broke, and he talks slow, and I don't, So go ahead. Let's hit it. This is Mimi
Anyone
Puff.
celebrating the death of Charlie Kirk is a sick individual. Attempt on that man's life was trying to prove and make a statement that, listen, you're not going to be safe talking about these things. It's interesting because we accept people, we love everyone until our opinion is not in alignment with yours.
Amen.
So this was an attempt to make us silent, and I'm letting y'all know right now, this has emboldened me. This has emboldened so many people I know. This has emboldened my friends, my family, to start standing up in what we believe in, because there is no such thing as a silent majority anymore. Rest in peace, Charlie Kirk. I don't care if you disagree with me or not. Anyone celebrate?
Okay, that's good. I like that point of view. And I don't know what her political point of view is. She didn't reveal it. For all I know, she's to the left. But what she's saying is, we're humans. And that is, by the way, a Christian idea that we should treat each other with respect, no matter. I mean, Christians say love the sinner, hate the sin, which means we're not allowed to hate anybody, no matter what they think. But we can think their ideas are really, really stupid, though. I don't have a problem with that. So anyway, what's on your mind now?
So I've seen responses. For example, I just saw in a comment section, I can't even remember where, of someone saying, can you imagine if the roles were reversed? If this were someone on the right shooting someone on the left? And the response, several people responded very similarly and said it just happened with the killing of the Democratic she's senator, the House Speaker, Melissa Hortman, was killed, and they're saying
not the National House. It was Minnesota.
Yeah. Yes.
Go ahead.
And they're saying it's the exact same situation in reverse, and that Republicans and people on the right were celebrating the killing of this woman by someone on the right.
Yeah, well,
you have thoughts on that?
Yes, I do. No, the whataboutism. I'm with Greg Gutfeld. I don't want to hear it. This is so wicked. What we saw, the shooting of this man for no reason, execution by a rational person who is saying that I don't care about the whataboutisms, but I'm happy to answer it anyway. First, the person who shot those people was crazy.
Yep. Look into the details like Nick A would suggest.
Look at it, and you'll see that he said he did it for Governor Walz. The Governor Walz told him to kill some people. He was out of his frickin' mind. And I don't remember anyone celebrating the death of it. Not a single person.
It's not close to one-to-one.
Your friend was right, but that he had the wrong example. The example is George Floyd. George Floyd, who probably died with more drugs in his system than any righteous, good person could ever justify, who died because he was passing counterfeit bills and the cops came to get him, who died because he resisted arrest for an hour, even though the cops were trying to be nice to him, who probably did not die from suffocation, but from the drugs in his system. That's what the coroner said. He was a bad citizen, okay? I'm not saying he deserved death, but he was a bad citizen. But because of the color of his skin and because of CRT, it had to be determined that the person with his foot on the neck, who happened to be white, was evil. Now, behind him was a black dude and a Chinese dude, and they were all evil, apparently. But there was a white guy, Chauvin, who got the front. And what happened was the accepted scientists said, you know what? You're not safe going out of your house unless it's to march against in favor of George Floyd. And now there are statues of George Floyd everywhere. George Floyd has become Saint George Floyd, and people rioted and they killed people. Quite a few people were murdered in these riots. Murdered, killed, dead. And nobody ever sought restitution for the riots. In Minnesota, they burned down the doggone police department. And out in Seattle, they killed someone in their little chop section. And then that led to looting and rioting. And people said looting and rioting is poor people's way of getting justice. And whole streets of Manhattan that were once posh shopping places became war zones as people were allowed to break the windows and steal all the merchandise. And anyone who said that this might not be the right way to handle it was called a racist. So you can tell your friend we did see it. And what you'll see is no one on the right, and forget the right, there's no Christians out there burning things down. They're not out there shooting other people. They're not calling all other people who don't agree with them the devil. It's, but I don't really care about the whataboutisms anymore.
Well, and I would just add, as Christians, we don't celebrate the death of anyone.
Not even our enemies.
Yeah.
The Bible says don't. Now, to be frank with you, or candid, because I'm not Frank, Mike, but to be candid with you, which I always am, look, when I heard Osama bin Laden was killed, I was not sad. I was happy. Didn't hurt my feelings at all. When I saw those guys bringing a load of drugs from Venezuela on the boat and we blew them up, I was happy.
Because justice had been served.
And I was not happy because if I'd known those people, I would have been sad because of that. I'd know them. I didn't know them, and it was war. And that's what I started out with. That's called war. When you're happy to kill the enemy, you think you're stopping evil from killing you. You're protecting your children. You're protecting your babies. You're protecting your homeland. You're protecting your life, your property, your safety. And even then, if your joy is in bloodthirsty joy, there's something wrong with you. But if you stop the guy who's financing the killing or financing the fentanyl by killing them, you're like, yes. But if you dance on their grave and say it's so good that another man is dead, philosophically, if you can handle that, or if I get too happy about the death of a bad guy, I'm going to have the shame to hide that and go to my time alone with God and say, God, what's wrong with me that it didn't bother me that these humans were killed? Why am I not responding right? I'll realize that's wrong. But the people celebrating Kirk's death are just partying like it's New Year's, right? New Year's Day or New Year's Eve. They're just very happy that he's dead. Why? They must think this is a physical war, a kinetic war, as they call it, not a spiritual one, and that you have to kill your fellow American. And this is very un-American.
Yeah.
I mean, we started our first war of independence. You had families who loved each other, who said, I'm fighting for the Tories. The other said, I'm fighting for the colonies. And I don't think they enjoyed that. And you had in the Civil War, you had brothers fighting brothers. I don't think any of them said, feels real good to shoot another American. I don't think they said that. And yeah, it's sick. It is sick. The devil has gotten into our society and lied to a lot of people.
And a note on a comment you made earlier, I would just say Bible 101, learn the difference between murder and execution. Learn the difference between murder and...
what is the difference?
Well, murder is killing someone unjustly. It's
illegal kill.
Yeah, apart from the system that God has put in place that you talked about earlier. Whereas execution is utilizing that system to value human life.
That's right. That's right. And in fact, capital punishment, I think is what you're saying.
Yes, thank you.
But I get the point. Capital punishment is legal. And again, to innocence and guilt, I've been accused, you don't have a pro-life position because you say you want to save the babies, but you don't mind the death penalty. I just want to, let's just look at that, just not even from the Bible, which I think the Bible makes case, but rationally. Most people who are against the death penalty want to kill the baby. So one of us is trying to save the one who's committed no crimes against society. The other wants to save the ones who have committed the worst crimes against society. I still think I win that moral battle, that moral spitting match. You know, I'm for not killing innocent people, and you're for not killing guilty people, but go ahead and slay the innocent. And anyway, I do think Charlie Kirk, though, was a good example for me. For a lot of guys twice his age, in any age. I don't know where this guy came from. I'm sure he did a lot of stupid things because humans do, but dang, he was sharp.
Dang indeed. Yeah.
He was sharp, and he taught. If you listen to, first he taught me you can go after Moby Dick in a rowboat and bring the tartar sauce because you know you're going to get him, and because he did. He just said, I'm just going to go change the country. I'm 16 and got nothing else to do. And he just got busy. And he died at 31. But the devil killed the wrong person because the resolve in the people we see in these videos, and we didn't even hit all the people. There's so many videos of people saying, I haven't been to church in this many years. Have you seen those?
Yeah, and I've seen that there apparently was a major uptick in church attendance. I was actually at a different church this weekend, and they increased by over 50% this week. I don't know if it's directly tied to Charlie Kirk.
Well, you know, we here at Harvest, we have 4 campuses. And 2 of ours did not show any noticeable change. One of our campuses up in the Troy Valley, all the Muellers are on vacation.
It's like the whole, it's like half the
right, so it's really hard to have an uptick because they I think they only had 90 people, and because about 40 people were on vacation together. But here in the Katanning campus, we had all kinds of kids in the nursery we've never had before. We always know when new ones come because they have to sign in. And at our Crave youth event, all kinds of teenagers who are there.
15 new ones, I think, at Crave.
15 new ones, and that is really odd. Yeah. Last week was kickoff. This week, 15 new came. And it's hard to know. You know, maybe they would have come anyway, but that's kind of growth you're always hoping for. And four of them gave their lives to Christ.
2 notes on that. When Trump was shot, he did the whole fight thing, and it was really ambiguous and a little nerve-wracking for me, wondering how people were going to interpret that. Now that Charlie's been shot and people are responding in the same sort of way, it makes me nervous again. However, the message is clearer, I think, that Charlie, you've hopefully seen the clip where in one of his last interviews, someone asked him, how do you want to be remembered? And he said, for courage for my faith.
Yeah.
His message is faith in the gospel, is the gospel message.
The only thing he cared about.
And so the reaction ought to be, if it's fight in your mind, not fighting other people, but rather standing up like Charlie did for his faith, like we saw in those video clips.
And those videos I pulled off of X because that's the only social media I'm on. And I'm on LinkedIn, but that's not really social media. I don't know what it is. It's just an email producer. I don't go there. Unless you message me. The impulse, the reactions, to compare the 2 you just compared. When Trump got shot, I saw the impact was resolve to fight, just like he said. And it was purely political. This, I'm not seeing the politics of it except for Democrats.
Mm-hmm.
It's personal. which I think he really was becoming the Billy Graham of our day. He just the time of bringing 100,000 people together in a big field or a stadium is no longer as effective as bringing 2,000 people together in a college quad and then making clips and throwing them all over the internet. He had become the Billy Graham of our day, because the reaction I'm seeing is people, not counting the people saying I'm quitting the Democratic Party, but the others are saying I'm going to be a better father, I'm going to be a better husband, I'm going to go to church. I mean,
I've seen a few weird ones on the right, but they're all ambiguous. That they're hard to nail down because.
Well, yeah, it's Tucker right. Carlson and what's that, Candace Owen. They're going to find a way the Jews killed him, because the Jews. What, Charlie Kirk's dead? The Jews must have shot him. I mean, I bet you if their battery in their dead car, the battery in their car is dead, Tucker Carlson says the Jews killed the battery power, and the Jews do it all. You stub your toe, the Jews made my toe stubbable.
Before we get too far on that, I want to make another comment.
These people are insane. The Jews did not shoot this man. If you believe the Jews stole this man, you're going down the rabbit hole.
You made a comment in one of our meetings yesterday. So we've been, many of us have an alarm on our phones for 108 to remind us of Mission 18. And,
to pray.
Yeah, to pray. And what do you pray for every time?
Revival.
Yes. And in our meeting yesterday, we were talking about how strangely this has produced a revival. And I can't help but think like seeing the connection there. I would have never guessed, and I'm not sure I want to like draw too hard of a framework around this. We've been praying for revival, for the growth of this church and God's church everywhere. And for some reason, this evil event has caused something to change. Now, I'm praying that it's not like 9/11 where everyone prayed for a couple days, well, longer than a couple days, and then it eventually died out. But like,
well, the blood of the martyrs is
the seed of the church.
The seed of the church. And Stephen, we're going to have a meeting today with some elders tonight, a fellowship meeting, and we're going to go over Stephen. Stephen is the one I think about because he wasn't an apostle, right? He was one of the first leaders, probably an elder. Some people think a deacon, but I don't think so, who helped solve a racial dispute about food. But he was also clearly a teacher and an apologist and evangelist. So he's out chatting with arguing with all the religious opponents, and they can't beat him. They cannot beat him. And so people are listening to that, and they're losing and he's winning. Now, the Holy Spirit is giving him the help, but I think the Holy Spirit was giving Charlie the help. So I have no problem with that comparison either. And it got to the point where they said, we can't beat him in this fight. Let's kill him. And they threw stones at him until he died. They killed the wrong guy. I used to think, God, why would you let your most effective communicator die first? Why don't you let him live a long time? Because, I mean, for all we know, you had some guy who was like an introvert, maybe, Barnabas or not Barnabas, one of them other dudes. For all you know, Matthew could hardly talk. He writes okay, but why kill the effective one? And I think you could think that here. God, why would you allow him to take... I mean, if he did this since he was 18, how much more good could he have done if you let him live till he's 60 and keep working and keep spreading the gospel? That's our wisdom. It's not God's wisdom, because the person who was holding the coats, according to Scripture, when Stephen died was Saul.
Giving his approval.
Yes, and he was a very important man. Why would he hold the coats? He wasn't the servant. He was too important to bend over and pick up the rocks, right? They laid their coats at his feet, and he stood back like the general and blessed it. Go get him. He's not going to pick up rocks and throw them, or he's not that undignified. And then he became a persecutor of the church, and then he became the great evangelist who wrote the Bible. So, devil doesn't know who to kill. He doesn't know. He kills all the wrong people all the time, but only with God's permission. And God has a plan, and we trust it. And at Harvest, we exist to increase the health and size of God's church everywhere. And that's our vision, and we're not changing. I had somebody said, aren't you going to idolize them by having a memorial service? No. we'll do the same thing Charlie did. We're going to say, Jesus, you're going to... now, this is in the past. For all I know, someone came and set the building on fire, and we all ran out and didn't have it. I don't know what happened. It's the past. But
we'll have it outside.
It's tomorrow as we're recording this. And if you go to that, I guarantee you're going to hear the cross proclaimed in probably 5 or 6 songs. We're going to have some people give their own little devotionals. Trust me, all you're going to hear about is how great our Lord is. And
just like Charlie thought.
Just like Charlie would have wanted. We're just, let's say we're having our own funeral for who I think is a church martyr. So, and I think it's fully appropriate to do so. And let the Lord's boldness go out. Right, sunshine?
Amen.
All right, we're done.